the moon fascinated me. 240,000 miles from Earth. And it was hard to think that far away that it held so many problems and wars and famines and such. But I digress. My story starts at 9:32 a.m., July 16th, 1969. The Apollo 11 launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. 3,000 journalists, 7,000 dignitaries, and 500,000 people observed this momentous occasion. There were three of us. Myself, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and the forgotten poor Michael Collins. The event went smoothly as scheduled. We orbited around the Earth 1.5 times. Then the delicate transition to attach the lunar module called the Eagle to the Columbia. And so once they attached, we were off to the moon for our, it took 3 days to get there. The further and further we went from Earth, the more I contemplated our planet. It looked so fragile. It looked like a Christmas ornament just dangling out in the vastness of space. It's hard for us to believe, I know, because it looks so, when we're on here, it's just so big and massive, but it didn't seem that way to me, and it almost seemed like it was some secret I wasn't supposed to tell anybody as a human. But the truth is, it was so beautiful. The fact is, the further I got away from it, the more I realized it was mostly all blue, because after all, it's 75% water, and then I noticed the white from the clouds. At first I could see the North America and South America, then I could just see the continents, and then that all faded away and it was just black masses. At July 17th at 1:28, Apollo 11 entered the moon's orbit. Buzz Aldrin and I, at that point, entered the lunar module and we detached from the command module to make our descent on the moon. Michael Collins checked to make sure that the visual was good and the landing was going to be okay. And he said his final goodbye to us. You cats have a good time on the lunar surface. Off we took. It was hard to believe that after all these years of training, I was finally going to land on the moon. I felt as giddy as a schoolboy. My first day in kindergarten, the awe, the wonder, the anticipation. Only this was 100 times tenfold. As the Eagle headed near the moon's surface, several problems happened that most of you probably never heard of. All these alarms went off. I know we had a program manual, but this is not the time to be pulling out a manual and looking when you're trying to land on the moon. I realized that the computer system was guiding us towards this area where there were huge boulders the size of a large truck. Then I got on I called the command post and said, give us a reading on the alarm, please. I was trying not to display the fear I was feeling. This was a life and death situation happening 240,000 miles away from Earth. Now I know that people knew that this moon voyage was going to be risky, but very few knew that all the dynamics involved in it. I was living it right now here in space. It would either be we were going to land on the moon or we were going to crash. The landing alarms were signaling overload. It was at 12:02 alarm. In effect, it meant that we were receiving more data than we could actually handle. It was going to either stop or reboot or abort. Secondly, we were losing communication with Earth. The signals kept going in and out and in and out, and that was my greatest fear, that we would lose total communication with Earth. And now Buzz was always trying to fix the communication, but it just was not, it was very spotty at best. To make matters worse, we were almost out of fuel. Since we weren't landing in the place that we originally planned to land, we had to land someplace elsewhere. We only had 2 minutes left to to either land or run out of fuel. I focused on the problem at hand. With some last-minute maneuvers, I guided us to a safe spot. And at 4:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 20th, 1969, we landed on the moon with 2 seconds left of fuel. Now, you think that was the end of our problems? No. The door wouldn't open. You can't exactly kick open the door. We've got to use that door for the way home. After some delicate maneuvering, I was finally able to get the door open, and we put down the ladder, and I made my way down and took my first step. And we all know, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I had practiced that over and over again. I wanted to sound like a newspaper reporter, unbiased, dignified, but actually inside I was shaking with excitement. I felt giddy, and I felt once again like a schoolboy, but I had to keep my cool. Finally, Buzz followed me onto the surface of the moon, and we did our moon walk. And it was pretty darn fun. And what I noticed is the moon had a tranquil, desolate beauty to it. But we weren't there just for fun and games. We had lots of scientific experiments to do. So we looked and found many moon rocks. The surface, I might add, it feels like thick sand when you walk in it. After we collected about 46 pounds of moon rocks, it was time to turn the cameras on so that the whole world could see us. I turned the cameras on, and over a billion people.
Visiting hours for those services are over in 10 minutes. Thank you for your cooperation.
Over a billion people all over planet Earth got to watch this spectacular event live. It was hard to even think about that. After spending 21 hours and 36 minutes upon the moon, it was time to leave. Now, most people remember that we left a flag, but I think a lot of people forget about the plaque that we left. The plaque that says, "Here, men from planet Earth first set foot upon the moon. We came in peace for all of mankind." July 1969 AD. Yep, I don't know if you could say AD anymore. That might not be politically correct. But I really doubt someone's going to go up there and try to take the plaque away at this point. I move on. The lunar module blasted off on July 21st, 1969. We reattached to the Columbia, and we headed back to planet Earth for another 3-day venture. We splashed down in the Pacific Ocean and were immediately picked up, but we had to be quarantined for 17 days. They thought we might have moon germs. After the 17 days, we were reunited with our families. It was a great event. Even got to meet the president, and there were countless ticker tape parades. Years later, I found confetti in some of my shoes. Yes, we were treated like heroes. And we learned a lot about the moon from them. We were in textbooks, and children and adults for years to come would read about us landing on the moon. But what I really learned myself was about the Earth. When I was on the moon, I remember I stuck my thumb out, and I could hide the entire planet just with my thumb. And I thought, my whole family, everything that's ever happened, all the arts, the beauty of the world, the famines, the pestilence, the symphonies, everything that I've ever loved, everything I've ever despised is hidden behind my thumb. Makes one think, doesn't it?